All right, we're jumping right into a pretty intense argument today. We're going to break down one author's really provocative take on the American education system, where it came from, where it is now, and why they think it's all coming crashing down, thanks to its youngest students.
So, to really get this critique, you have to understand where the author is coming from. This isn't some dry academic paper. Nope, it's visceral. It all starts with this deep, personal hatred for school, a feeling so powerful that even the smell of coffee can trigger a physical reaction.
And that feeling, it comes from a very specific time and place. The author anchors their entire argument in their own experience as a student back in the 1990s, and they paint a picture of a system that was already in serious trouble.
And the picture they paint, wow. It sounds less like a school and more like a correctional facility. We're talking an in-school daycare for teen moms, a full-time probation officer on site, fighting, skipping class, weapons. It wasn't just happening, it was normal. Getting arrested was even seen as something to be proud of.
And if you think that's wild, check out this number, 400. That's how many days the author was suspended by the time they hit 8th grade. I mean, do the math. That's more than 2 full school years. This wasn't just a kid who didn't like school. This was someone in open rebellion against the entire system.
So, okay, with that really intense personal backstory set, the author then kind of zooms way out to make this much bigger historical point. They argue that if we really want to understand why schools are in such a mess today, we have to go back and look at what they were even for in the first place.
And they point to this thing called the Prussian system. You might not have heard of it, but according to the author, it's basically the blueprint for American schools. And in their view, this model was never really about, learning for learning's sake or fostering critical thinking. Nope, the goal was conformity, plain and simple, to churn out obedient soldiers and workers who wouldn't ask too many questions.
And this chart, it lays out the argument perfectly. On one side, you've got the purpose of school we all hear about, creating good citizens, teaching skills. But on the other side, that's the author's much darker take, that it was really a machine for forcing cultural conformity and producing a compliant workforce, not enlightened individuals.
And they get really specific about who this was aimed at. The author claims the whole system was basically designed to, and this is their word, neuter the cultures of immigrant groups like the Irish, Italians, and Germans, and also to finalize the cultural destruction of Native Americans. The idea was to wipe the slate clean and create this new, uniform American identity.
So you might be asking, how did we get from that system to the chaos we see today? Well, the author argues that a system built on conformity can only really work if people trust the institutions in charge. And they lay out this timeline showing exactly how that trust just completely crumbled over the decades.
It all starts after World War II, right? A time of really high trust. Parents trusted the schools, even with stuff like corporal punishment. Then you hit the 70s, Vietnam, Watergate, and that trust just shatters. The 80s bring economic stress and huge changes to the family unit. And then, the big one. The 2000s. The internet shows up, splinters our shared culture into a million pieces, and suddenly kids have a front row seat to all the unfiltered anger of the generations before them.
And all that history and decaying trust, it leads us right here, to the classroom of today. The author says we shouldn't look at Gen Alpha's behavior as just kids being bad. Instead, they see it as the final, logical symptom of a system that's completely lost its authority and its reason for being.
And the picture they paint of today's classrooms is, well, it's pretty bleak. They talk about kids showing up for kindergarten still in diapers, without the most basic social skills. You've got parents who are either too burned out or just too scared to actually discipline their own children. And the kids? They're finding new ways to rebel. We're not just talking passing notes anymore. We're talking about flipping desks and chanting these bizarre internet memes.
And look, this isn't just one person's bad experience. The author backs this up with some pretty stark data. A 50% quit rate for new teachers in their first 5 years. Think about that. Half of the people who start this job are gone before they even really get going. That points to a profession that is absolutely in crisis.
And then there's the money. This is the real kicker. According to these figures, the U.S. spends a ton on education. We're talking second highest among developed nations. And for all that cash, we get mediocre results, 12th place in math and reading. So what does that tell you? It suggests that just throwing more money at the problem isn't going to fix it, because the rot is somewhere much, much deeper.
So all of this, the history, the decline, the chaos today,
It brings the author to this really personal and pretty raw conclusion. And you have to remember, they're not just some critic writing from an ivory tower. They're a parent to 8 kids.
And this is the question that's tearing them up. If you truly believe the system is not only broken but was designed to be hostile in the first place, why on earth would you fight to make your own kids succeed in it? What's the point?
From their point of view, the whole deal is off. The social contract is broken. They feel like the country, the corporations, the government, they don't want citizens anymore. They don't want partners in a national project. All they want is a compliant workforce. Or, to use the author's very blunt term, slaves.
And that leads us to this final, really shocking thought. The author actually finds a certain grim satisfaction, a beautiful feeling, they say, in watching the whole thing burn down. They see Gen Alpha's classroom chaos not as a tragedy, but as a kind of justice. It's the system's own creation, its own Frankenstein's monster, coming back to destroy it. It's a really provocative way to end it, and it leaves you thinking, is this just one person's incredibly cynical take, or are they seeing something true about a system that's really on the edge of collapse?